A liberated youth economically means the politicians have no one to use for their political shenanigans.
Youth forms a very critical population in the country, Kenya. Over 1/3 of the population of Kenya is youthhood. And you find it is one of the social status group which has not had a very large voice when it comes to issues, planning and implementation of government plans. And you find that mostly the elderly people will plan for the youth without the involvement of the youth. That is where the problem starts.
We are one of the countries with the youngest population, so to say. That meaning we are able to produce a labor task force that can stabilize this economy within no time. But the government won't do that because an independent youth is a threat to bad governance. A liberated youth economically means the politicians have no one to use for their political shenanigans. So having a high number of youth unemployed is by design. It's not just a coincidence. It's not a problem that has just emerged from nowhere. It's a designed problem so that the politics and bad governance continue to thrive over the years.
A large number of young people are unemployed, and those who are employed have to deal with high cost of living. We have seen an increase in university fee. We have seen the low quality of quality healthcare, and that affects young people.
We need policies which are youth friendly. We have young people who are doing some creatives like film productions and all that. These young people need to be given opportunities through policy which are friendly to young people. You cannot tell the young people to pay taxes when you see them with cameras in town. You tell them to pay 5,000 to shoot something somewhere, and this is the first time for them to engage into that, and they don't have money to pay. So for me, I think youth employment is a big thing, but it's something which the government, civil society and communities need to rethink about how policies can be created which are youth friendly for young people to engage into businesses. At the same time, they can engage into creatives so that they can employ themselves through policies which are youth friendly. Because most of the policies which we have in this country, it's very hard for young people even to borrow money to start their own businesses, because the money, when you borrow this money, there's a lot of conditions which sometimes is not easy for young people to get that money to employ themselves.
When I talk about youth and unemployment, I'm talking about a case study of a supermarket that is purely employing persons with disability. And when it comes to the cashiers, they are deaf, the packers are deaf, the cooks are deaf. And this is causing a sensation within Nairobi. It's a conversation that is ongoing. And I think this is a practice that we've talked about as an organization. We have very many organizations for persons with disability advocating for employing persons with disability. But this is a case study that needs to be emulated. When we look at, and I come back to the models that we talked about, when we look at employing persons with disability, do we consider the cost that comes with it, or do we consider basically the pluses that this person's ability comes with?
And maybe it's time that the majority who have the say but are marginalized to stand up in unison and question this government. Because I remember, if it still exists, we are entitled, as per the Constitution, to 30% of tenders. But who gets these tenders? Who audits the people who get these tenders? Majority of them are old men and women, unfortunately. The youth are very few. And why? Because they cannot afford to have bank statements with the millions required for you to qualify for a sustainable tender. Do we have the skills? We do. But no one is willing to look at that and support that. That is why we have a president who stood and told us how he's gonna ship people to Germany, Canada, and Japan for businesses and jobs. What jobs? Why can't we create the same thing back home? Why do we need to take our kids to foreign land to go work. Does it mean we can't create that home? Does it mean we do not have enough budgets for the same? We are talking about 2023-2024 budget that is worth 3 trillion. And we're going to say that we're going to ship our young people to different countries to get jobs. The question is, as our president benchmarks, as his PSs and CSs benchmark, can they pick a leaf as they're using our taxes for those things and at least come implement that back home?
We are seeing every other day people losing jobs. We are seeing every other day people being chased from their homes because they can't afford the rent. We are seeing every day students being sent back, because they cannot pay the fees. Every other night, people are sleeping hungry, and these are challenges that we are directly contributed to with the soaring, cost of living. The Finance Bill 2023 has not made it any better. If anything, it has made things extremely, extremely bad. Just looking at one aspect of that finance bill, the doubling of the VAT when it comes to fuel cost has meant that everything else will go up, because if fuel goes up, that means the cost of every other commodity also goes up. And Kenyans are complaining that while the cost of living is going up, the taxation is actually also being increased.
Every day you stand up, you claim to be a leader of tomorrow, but you cannot financially stand for yourself. Why? Because of the systematic challenges that have been set so that you can thrive. We are living in a government that now is taxing SMEs. That if you're starting a small business right now, there's a fee you'll have to pay to government annually. Leave alone the fee, we have the licenses, the levies that are now high. How do young people start businesses? Where do they get these capitals from? How do they invest and stand by themselves? We now have a government that is taking away help, or rather limiting those who get help. We are taking our education system back to when one villager goes to campus, the whole village has to hold a celebration. That's where we want to take back our youth. So unfortunately, I think we are unemployed because the government does not like us. And with the same energy, they're not going to think about us, because when they're budgeting for everything else, we have never seen our youth budget. How do you have a marginalized majority that is not budgeted for, that is not thought of, that is not sought after by the same system that claims to love its people?
Because of the unemployment of the youth, this youth will look for something to do because they have a lot of energy, which in one way or the other, it has to be utilized. So either they will end up going to drinking sprays, the mangoes, and they will sleep there drinking. They will go beating and stealing for people, because one, they have to live, two, they have to use the energy which is in their bodies.
As an organization, Haki Africa, we've managed to tackle so many issues that are affecting our youth within the society in this regards that it reached a point whereby the government had issued an order of amnesty to the youth who are in conflict with law, and they were hesitant in coming out to present themselves because of fear that they're going to be killed. At that particular moment also, we were experiencing on issues of radicalization of young youth, whereby they felt that this is the only way to go about revenging for any loss and any human rights violation that has ever happened within the community. So Haki Africa managed to reach out to these groups and follow them through to understand what is the root cause of these youth engaging into criminal activities. What is luring them into joining radicalization and extremism. And by doing so, we managed to learn a lot, that the only thing that this youth, let me say some of the things that this youth were missing was an ear to listen to them and a shoulder to cry on. And by giving them that, we managed also to learn the gaps that they were there within the society. Many of these youths were engaging into criminal activities because of, first of all, peer pressure, lack of employment, and also engaging and indulging into using of drugs and substances. But then the using of drugs and substances was also brought by the fact that most of the drug barons were misusing youth into selling these things, yet before they sell, they had to test. So by testing, you get addicted to some of these substances. So what Haki Africa did, first of all, was to offer psychosocial support to these youth so that they get away from the grievances that they were there and affecting their mental health.
Youth are energetic and they are ambitious. They would like to have things happen and see results very fast. But you find because they are not involved in the initial processes of planning their issues, they are left out, and whatever is planned for them, by the time they come into accepting it and going into it, it is already late. And you find that some of the programs which are rolled out for the youth themselves feel that they are not fit for them.
The youth need to start rethinking about how they can employ themselves, because I think the mandate of the government is to create good environment for people to create their own initiatives whereby they can even employ themselves or employed by someone. If the environment is not good in terms of companies, industries and all that, I don't think we're going to have employment of the young people.
A number of counties have not embraced having industries which are processing or adding value to the local products. Kilifi County, for instance, there is a lot of pineapple production in Chakama, but you find those pineapples are being processed in Thika. The cashew nuts which are being produced in Kilifi, there is no cashew nut factory. Which, if there could be a cashew nut factory in Kilifi, youth could get employment there. But these cashew nuts are being bought by macadamia nuts, and again they are being processed in Thika. You find mangoes. There are a lot of mango production in Kilifi, but no processing is done in Kilifi. You talk of oranges, talk of tangerines, all this, and the coconut, it can have over 5 industries, but you find there is no industry in Kilifi County which can employ the youth.
And what we urge the government to do is the government to create a conducive environment for young people, policies which are youth-friendly, so that young people can really work so well in terms of developing their economic empowerment within their lives.
When you see persons with disability, have you ever considered that this person can have an added advantage as compared to when you employ persons without disability?
Why 10 years of devolution and having these farm products within Kilifi, we have no industry for any cash crop in Kilifi County. Why?
Will we ever have a life where youth actually have a nation that loves them? Why do we have to keep taking our kids to foreign land to work?